What was your biggest well now I don't want to do it moment? For my 18th birthday my parents bought me 18 lottery tickets. It's a sort of tradition in our family. Didn't win anything except another 3 tickets. The day after my party, my best friend and I were out shopping and I decided I wanted to exchange them for the other tickets, so we stopped at the nearest gas station. I won $500. As we were leaving I was considering splitting the money with my friend, until we got in the car and she told me to buy her a new phone. I was silent for a moment out of shock and she added that money is mine too. I drove here. I gave her $10 for gas. We're no longer friends. She told me to buy her a phone, the car, the gas, and the audacity of this lass. While I was at a jeweler's shop buying my ex-girlfriend's engagement ring, she called and was screaming at me for having got the wrong kind of pot roast for a dinner we were hosting. I stood there, listening to her scream and cut me out and decided I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. Happily married now to a woman that is way chill and never screams at me on the phone. About 10 years ago I was asked to visit a client in a country I wasn't too sure about. Not a problem though, I'll just check the security advice first, if that's okay. That advice was when checking into your hotel. Ensure you have an inward facing room to minimize the risk of ricochet. You can find someone else to go see that client. Thanks all the same. The word minimize is really the worst part of that advisory. I was a pretty quiet kid. I wasn't shy, I just knew when to shut up. Whenever someone went oh she does speak or oh wow I thought you were mute always made me want to shut down. As a kid, every time you're just about to say thank you and then your mother feels the need to jump in and ask you, what do you say? My mother did this until I was nearly 30. It used to drive me absolutely nuts. Nobody wanted to coach Little League when my sons started about 7 years ago or so. So if I wanted them to play, I'd have to coach. I've been doing it every year including All Stars and the program is pretty big now, but I wanted to stop so many times and it all is related to the parents. They are unbelievable. Your kid is not as good as you think they are. I've had to physically stand between a 14-year-old umpire and a parent approaching him screaming, "Are you out of your freaking mind? First off, it was a strike. Your son is out. Second, he's 14 and are you out of your freaking mind?" Sports parents. They are a breed unto themselves. My mother always tells me something obvious whenever I try to do something, then immediately starts bragging to anybody nearby that I would have never figured out how to change that tire, wash those dishes, vacuum that rug if she hadn't told me how to do it. It has become a common thing recently to just drop whatever I'm doing and leave it unfinished until she does it herself. I hate having anyone hover over me just so they can treat me like a brainless moron who only exists at their personal amusement. Whenever my wife changes something up in her looks and we are out with friends, there is always that one friend who has to specifically comes over and makes a show asking me, "OMG, don't you just think she's so beautiful? Why don't you tell her how beautiful she is?" To which I want to say, of course I do. Do you think we wait for your presence to have affectionate loving moments? Frick off. I don't need your help to be a good partner. I just leave it at yes. Of course I do though. We're not really looking for a third right now, and you're not her type. Coming out of my room to socialize with family guests only to get a comment like, "Look who came out of his cave for once. Look who's about to go right back in it." Some of the best advice I've been given is don't discourage the behavior you want to see. As a parent, I try to apply it every day with my children, which is hard, because I've always been really sarcastic by nature, even with my friends and loved ones. I read a ton of fanfic and I am that type to never forget to leave a kudo and a nice comment for the author thanking for brightening my day for free, except when I see at the end of the fic a snippy, haughty author's note, "How I know you hate to be reminded but comments cost you nothing, and I can't believe I have to break it to you but we can't create in vacuum blah blah." I am fine with people genuinely asking for comments, but those who patronizingly demand them make me just click out. Petty, I know. It's even more annoying when they say they won't release chapters until they've reached a certain amount of likes or comments. Trying to push through depression and start cleaning the house and people talk to you like an idiot. I only clean when no one is home now. Difficult when nobody is going anywhere thanks to COVID. When someone says want to hang out, it's not like you're doing anything right now. Doing nothing suddenly sounds more pleasant than hanging out with you. I don't think I've ever had someone say that to me. That sounds so unbelievably rude. Plus, even if you aren't doing anything, alone time is essential. In my elementary school they graded us on how many books we read, which took the fun out of reading and made me hate reading from 1st grade to 6th grade. I definitely would have read more during that time if they didn't make it mandatory. Back when I was younger, my mom would always ask about girls. Like all young boys, I didn't know crap about girls. I needed guidance, so of course I'd tell her what's going on. Instead of helping, she just teased me about it, pretty relentlessly. When I got my first girlfriend, she made a point of embarrassing me in front of her, because that's what moms are supposed to do. Not just once, every chance she got. Since then, she hasn't met anyone I've dated, and I haven't answered a single question about my love life. Oh, frick that. I'm a mom and I wouldn't do that. Your mom clearly missed the memo that you're a person and deserve to be treated with basic respect. If you're not laughing, it isn't funny. I was 16, with a very short boy haircut that I'd had since I was 5. I was asked to be bridesmaid for my brother, was always a tomboy. I expressed some concerns about how my hair would look with the fancy garlands that the bride was planning for us to wear, as I thought I'd look silly. Was told, well, you'll just have to grow your hair. Then, I'm out. I'm in my 50s now. I have to this day never been a bridesmaid. When I was younger, all those times I was thinking, you know what, I'm finally going to get around to X. And then as soon as I get up and I'm about to do it, either my mom or dad would say, hey, it's 0x1s, how about you do X? Now and then I'm infuriated and I'm no longer in the mood to do X. I can feel that too, but if you think about it from their perspective, they just asked someone not currently doing X to do X. Like, a lot of the time they have no clue and can feel really bad if you get mad at them for an unknown reason. According to YouTube statistics, X% of my viewers aren't subscribed, so subscribe if you haven't. I mean, it's probably right, but it makes me not want to. When it's someone I genuinely like but realize I'm not subscribed to them, I'm down to hit it instantly. When it's someone making some half-assed video that I just happen to watch, I sure as frick won't be subscribing. When I start a sentence and I'm immediately interrupted for no real reason, then they'll have the nerve to ask what I was saying. When I was a kid, my dad suddenly got really into Catholicism and made us all start going to mass on Sundays. He made my 2 older sisters go to catechism school and they did their first communions. They hated it, but being the youngest sibling, I thought it seemed like a cool big kid thing to do, so I was excited to do it too one day. A few years later, my best friend started going to catechism school and was getting ready to do her first communion, and I wanted to do it with her because I thought it would be really fun to be in the same class and do all this stuff together. My dad, who several years before had gotten into screaming matches with my sisters over their resistance to catechism school, was suddenly putting mine off. I kept approaching him saying, "Dad, I want to do my first communion with best friend. Will you please sign me up this year?" He would say sure, and then nothing would happen. I would ask him again, and the same thing would happen. I brought it up a lot. He put me off for an entire year, and my friend of course finished her catechism schooling and completed her first communion. Suddenly he remembered that I hadn't done my first communion yet, and one day he said, "You need to start going to catechism and do your first communion." At this point I was 10 and wanted nothing to do with it, so I refused. He screamed at me and shamed me about it big time. I'm still mad about it. I would have done it earlier with my friend if you had just listened to me, Dad. When you go back to school, it'll just be you in a classroom and the teachers teach on Zoom. Basically we go back into school but just to do the same thing we did at home, but with a higher risk at COVID. Not a well now I don't want to do it moment rather than a now I don't want it moment. Whenever I was gifted something somewhat expensive or hard to find, the person always tries to guilt trip me about how expensive or hard it was to get by. It results in me feeling bad for ever getting it in the first place. When I'm planning on doing something and someone tells me to do it before I can, there is no way to prove you were going to do it before they asked you, and it annoys the crap out of me. This is mostly work related. I always, without fail, wash the dishes every night. My mother knows this but always feels the need to tell me, and I get frustrated because I always do it without her asking. I had a huge crush on this girl in college. We were a part of a friend group but we got along very well, so we spent a lot of time together. We went out a few times and she was very flirty with me, but whenever I said something semi-romantic, she'd ignore it. Then I found out she started dating another guy. I wasn't jealous, just peeved because it honestly felt like she was leading me on and kept me around as rebound in case this guy fell through. 3 weeks later, a friend told me that she'd broken up with the guy. He only wanted to sleep with her whereas she wanted a relationship. At a party later that day, I was chilling under a blanket on a couch when she suddenly got under the blanket with me, pressed her leg on mine, and said, "Hey, you know our friends said we look really cute as a couple." I stared at her glowingly beautiful face, which till now is still unmatched by anyone I know, gave a smug smile and said, "Oh, but then we'd ruin our friendship." Then I got out of the blanket, grabbed the biggest bowl of chips on the table, and went out to the backyard to bask in my swelling pride. 5 years later, I still regret doing that. I'll happily go down on people I'm dating pretty much any time they like, but I swear to God, if I feel your hand on the top of my head, just number. That one is so divisive it's almost funny. I've just about as much "don't touch my head" as I've met other "why the heck aren't holding my head, push me down harder" types. Spouse and I were talking about taking down the Christmas decorations in front of my extremely religious and devout Catholic mother-in-law. She immediately says, "Well, you have to leave it up until the Feast of the Three Kings. The decorations are still up now because frick you. And not just that, we're horrible procrastinators." That would have made me take them down right in front of them out of spite, lol. When I turned 18, legal age to drink, I stopped drinking alcohol. It didn't seem as much fun when I could just go to the local pub. I wanted one of those inflatable T-Rex suits for years. One Christmas Eve I had a few more brews than was good for me, so felt pretty fragile on Christmas morning. Having been disturbed from my hungover stupor in the name of family festive spirit, I opened the much longed for T-Rex suit. I don't know if you have ever worn one of those things, but it's basically a big plastic bag with some fans that keep it inflated. Putting this thing on did not seem like a great idea, but given how long I had wanted one, there was no way I was getting out of donning it. As I zipped it up and the full force of the recirculated doner kebab whiff engulfed me like some sort of modern day Iron Maiden, I realized a Christmas chunder was imminent. The T-Rex mittens proved too fiddly to mix with the fastenings. The spatter of half-digested quality street and parts of pita bread rebounding off the faceplate continue to haunt my dreams. I haven't worn it since. I have never worn a Trex suit, but I feel this in my soul. One Christmas, I was going to invite the family to gather at our house for a change, instead of at our aunt's home. But some are vegans, others allergic to all kinds of foods, while still others insist on having certain traditional dishes and that the house had to be decorated a particular way, or it wouldn't feel like Christmas. In the end, I just gave up and we went to our aunt's house instead, let her deal with all their demands and complaints. Literally every morning since I've been living with my dad and stepmom, I wake up on my own for the most part, go down to the kitchen to make food, and then my stepmom comes down the stairs and tells me I need to make food, while watching me boil water and opening a pack of instant oatmeal. Instantly makes me lose my appetite, and then she watches me make the food and doesn't leave till I eat half of it. It confuses me so much and it gives me anxiety when people watch me eat, but she doesn't believe me because I eat in front of them all the time. That doesn't mean I want to. This sounds awful, but giving to charity. Hear me out. So I was leaving a shop and there was this charity collection person outside and they were like, "Will you donate to this charity?" And I was like, "Sure, but I only have like £1.50 and change on me." And they were like, "We take card payments too." I hate how the giant corporation is the one that is trying to get you to donate. If I'm going to donate to charity, I'm going to find one I like and donate on my own time, not ad hoc in line buying milk. When you have that energy to just get up and clean your room, then your mom comes in and says clean your room, it's just a trigger for me. That's why I clean my room at night. She's asleep so she can tell me to do it. I thru-hiked the Colorado Trail. My parents bought me a spot device so they could track my location, but I had to check in on the device. I check in every morning and every night. Early in the hike I did my first 20-mile day and I was so tired. My check-in took longer than normal because I was walking all day. I had one random spot of service. And I guess my sister had been calling me non-stop because the second I came into service my sister called me yelling at me for not checking in. I was going to check in when I set up camp, but because she was just so annoying about it I didn't want to. Learning to drive. As a child, always dreamed of growing up and being able to drive, then come of age and realize that it's hard. You have to have lessons. Lots of lessons. That cost lots of money. When you're a teenager, not much is a lot. And it's scary learning on the actual roads, with other cars, and buses, and lorries. Then, you have to take a series of tests, as well, costing more money. I decided I wasn't in that much of a hurry to learn after all. At my first job, I was a total yeoman for every extra hour I could take. Cover a shift? Yes. Stay late? Yes. Work a double? Yes. One day I saw my manager and another employee standing about 10 feet away and my manager says watch. He will say yes and walks up to me, hey, can you stay over 5 hours tonight? I gave her a no and never covered another shift. Don't make an example of me. Money be damned. Created weekly videos for my fantasy football group. One week the video was a couple days late. One of the guys said about time. Those two words soured everything. Never made another video and left the league at season's end. Literally any time I want to get schoolwork done, especially in this time. Like Jesus, I know I'm supposed to do my homework, but can I go 30 minutes without having a parent barge in my room to ask please and thank you? Building a puzzle. Finished it yesterday night. A grandfather clock that was a 3D puzzle. And my mom immediately asks me, are you gonna finish that tonight? Immediately remembered I had some double XP tokens that needed to be used. Yeah, it's annoying when others hover over what you do, just let me do it in peace. Whenever I get into the mood to do something fun like go take a walk, play games, it's always do this or do that with my family. My dad was always against drinking soda outside weekends. We should drink water. Then once I came home from soccer training and it was hot and there was a cold bottle of cola in the fridge. I poured in a full glass and ready to drink and my dad stepped in like, hey, you shouldn't drink cola. It's not the weekend yet. I then emptied the full glass in the sink saying okay if that's what you want. When I'd call my parents, but the first 20 minutes of the phone call would be me unable to get a word in edgeways while they berated me for not calling more often. Not surprisingly, this made me demotivated to call the next time, because I knew it couldn't ever be a quick call. I'd need to have a lot of time free to allow room for an actual conversation after the bollocking, and I'd feel awful. Who'd have thought that telling someone they're terrible every time you speak to them makes them dread speaking to you? I'd have to gather my strength before a call. It could never be after a long day or anything because that would be so much harder to take. And prepare a list of what I wanted to talk about so I didn't forget from being so miserable by the time they finished their tirade. It took so much planning and emotional work. How hard is it to say, it's great to hear from you? How have you been, or at least to question whether all your children avoiding speaking to you might not possibly be your own fault, and try to change that. Back in 2009 I was helping a friend of a friend hack a 120GB laptop HDD so it could be used to replace his Xbox 360's 20GB HDD. I had already done it myself a couple times and was very confident with the process. As I was just about to start disassembling his 20GB HDD XB360 enclosure, this guy quipped something along the lines of, if you break it, you buy it. I promptly replaced the screw I had already removed from the enclosure and slid all the crap back over to him. Don't threaten me while I'm doing you a favor, butthole. I dated a girl for quite a long while who grew increasingly odd the longer we dated. Once she started talking about marriage and I thought of a lot of the crazy things she had done already and was like, nah, I'm good. Broke up with her. She then proceeded to drop loving notes off at my work, leaving them with other people to give me. One I'll never forget was titles 100 Things I Love About You, which included about 100 things that never happened in our relationship. It included zingers like "I love it when you let me stick a fork in your butt." Finally, once she knew I was done for good, she still wrote a 5-page confession paper where she told me the story that she was pregnant with my kid and never told me and went and got an abortion. Funny thing, I knew something might be off after a little while and so we never had sex. Hard to get pregnant there. I ended up ghost moving out of our apartment we shared with 2 friends. Changed my number. Ditched our shared friends for a very long time as well to ensure no one knew where I lived. Crazy girl might have killed me in my sleep. Ended up she went to the mental health ward for schizophrenia not long after I left her. Now I know the signs. When I've spent all day cleaning the house and only have one thing left to do and my wife tells me to do it. Like nah, you guys, this has blown up. At least to me. Glad to see I'm not alone. Go do the dishes for me. Why do you think I'm at the sink with a soapy sponge in my hands after cleaning the entire freaking house, Darlene? People telling to smile. Maybe I was going to smile at you but now you just get a dirty look and a no. Because I don't owe you crap, let alone a smile. Do not try to police my facial expressions because they aren't pleasing for you to look at. Yesterday I was bored and I saw we had a lot of dishes piled up in the sink and my mom is usually the one that has to do the dishes and so I was like, "Meh, guess I'll do the dishes." But then my dad saw me over there and said, "You know, while you're over there you should do the dishes since you never help out around here," and I have never lost motivation to do something that fast in my life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.